It's Sima and I'm a plugins developer. I mostly create apps for architects, engineers, and real estate developers. Over the last 5 years, I've developed a bunch of apps for companies in the AEC industry. Tools that save hours, automate the boring stuff, and try and make bad software suck a little less. Here, I want to share these stories behind those tools, the problems we face, and the weird workarounds. So, after drinking breakfast, I was scrolling Reddit on the AutoCAD forums, and I came across a lot of questions about how AutoCAD is hard. Now, I'm no stranger to shitty software. I've used tools with zero documentations before, but AutoCAD? Yeah, I don't know. But that got me thinking, what if the process itself is broken? Being mega real, I realized learning software sucks. You watch 20-minute video, retain none of it, then open your app and just stare at your screen, searching for the buttons. So I had an epiphany. What if we develop a better way? Instead of learning outside the app on a platform like YouTube, we learn inside our app. Develop a tool that shows you which buttons to click. And I decided to make that in AutoCAD. And if you've never heard about AutoCAD before, no, it's a software that costs thousands of dollars and barely gotten any updates in 20 years. Now for the plan. Build a lesson, and each lesson element will contain an objective. And each objective will contain some functions and method. A function to highlight the buttons, a function to play the audio,
is called internal pointer variable,
and a function to make sure that the user has actually done the work. And combining multiple objectives, we can actually teach a workflow. So imagine an objective like draw a line, now copy it, now rotate it. Now for the app, we're gonna be using MVVM with WPF. And I know what you're thinking, WPF in 2025? Why not use something modern? And that's a great question. And here's the answer. If you're building tools that integrate with Autodesk's products or most CAD or BIM software, you really don't get a choice. You can't use React, you can't use Vue, you can't use anything. It's like, here's WPF.
Now. Fuck off. Well then.
We can start building.
It's working.
Open up Visual Studio and create a new class library. First, we're gonna import some NuGet packages. I recommend using Foti to handle updating the UI every time the view models get updated, and WPF by Lipo to use some of its icons. Now, let's build the view model. Now, if you don't know what a view model is, it's basically the class that will hold all the information that will be used in your UI. For example, if you have a text box where the user needs to input his social security number, you can capture that in the view model. And if you change the view model, that information will be updated in the UI. As for the UI itself, we're gonna build a main user control that will be hosted on a dock in AutoCAD. Our main view will contain a sub-view or a content presenter that will change depending on the situation. For example, if our user is not logged in, we can show him the login page, or the courses view, from there to the lessons view, and from there to the objectives view. Building these bad boys is straightforward. He's gonna be our main view, it's gonna contain a simple text at the top, and a content presenter to show the other views. Let's call our app Guide Click. Now for the courses view. It's gonna be a simple item container of buttons. Each button will represent a lesson. The lessons and objective views will be similar, except I'm gonna add a highlight effect for the current objective and a green check mark for when the objectives are passed. Wiring them to launch from AutoCAD is pretty straightforward. For that, just implement the interface iExtension application and AutoCAD will handle the rest. AutoCAD will start executing from the method initialize. Not so bad. Now that they work inside of AutoCAD, let's try and add some UI and beauty to it. And the way to do that is with styles. A style is a separate file that you define how your UI elements should behave, like its foreground color, its border thickness, and how appearances should change depending on certain events, like change the border color when it's activated. I'm gonna use my own libraries that I've spent years building, and I'm gonna implement it. Now let's see. Throw in a theme switcher. Oh, much better now. Let's add breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs are meant to allow navigation between our views so the user can go back and forth between multiple views. Now, your users won't get lost navigating your app. Look at it. Pure magic. Now, for the fun part, building the logic behind the highlighting button. We're gonna build a border that will be placed around the buttons of the AutoCAD UI that we want. To get the location and coordinates of the button, I'll be using Flow UI, which is based on Windows Automation, which allows us to probe any program we want for its UI element. To show you how it works, download Windows Insight and highlight a button in AutoCAD. Now you can see this element name and its visual tree. This tool is pure gold for any task that requires you to click buttons automatically. And this is the code basically. Now let's see it in action. A bit sluggish. Now let's move our window. Okay, we have a problem. If the user moves the window, we don't update the border location. To fix that, let's add the timer, and each time it fires, we update the location of the border. Let's see how that works. Okay, now it's even more sluggish, and our program is dead. Let's think of a solution. The problem is with Windows Automation. Whenever it interacts with our app, it freezes the whole app. What if instead we get the location of the buttons one time when the program first starts, and then in our timer we use User32 API to get the location of AutoCAD itself. Now this method is fast, but we can only get the location of AutoCAD itself, not any of its UI element. But we can use it to calculate the movement of our buttons. After implementing, you can see it works like a charm without freezing AutoCAD. Our app can't be just highlighting buttons, we need to add audio. It's pretty simple. We still need to add a function to check if the user is doing what he's been told, but I'm gonna leave that for the next video. I've added also a loading window and a simple lesson. Let's see how that works. Okay, now let's change the theme. Let's launch a lesson.
Hello and welcome to our course, Basic 2D Drawing.
Next.
Let's start with the basics, how this course works. Each lesson is made up of objectives.
Now let's see the highlighting, title bar, menu button, the QAT, the info center, now the ribbon. It works. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Now you're more prepared to develop real apps, only to be replaced by a 10-year-old who vibe codes the next Jarvis. Subscribe so you don't miss the second part where I actually finish this app.